problem with governments is that although they may be elected by the people, they're actually bought by the corporations. So pretty much they're bought. They're organizations of whores. Mark Twain described that. He called Congress the Parliament of whores. And they've all sold out. I mean, the government of Australia, for example, is more interested in appeasing corporate interests and other countries like Japan or the U.S. than it is in doing the will of its own people, or certainly defending nature. There's no economic or political motivation to protect the whales in the Southern Ocean or to protect nature as a whole. If there's no profit in it, then nobody's going to be pushing it. And unfortunately, corporations control the media. The media controls who gets elected, and therefore we think we might be choosing a leader, but we don't have much of a choice really on that. In the United States, we have a choice between a Republican and a Democratic. You know, Obama is simply an acceptable form of George Bush, or we call him Bush Light. He's reneged on every promise. He hasn't changed anything. It's the same old, same old. I mean, basically in the United States, our government is an oiliocratic oligarchy, or government of the oil companies, for the oil companies, in the interest of the oil companies. We're fooling ourselves if we think that we're actually electing people to represent us. Well, our main obstacles are pretty simple: government, bureaucracy, and the people who feel that our strategies, our tactics are just unacceptable. So we've having to, over the years, so we've gotten moving towards mainstream. So what was once unacceptable is becoming more acceptable. But governments are always the biggest obstruction. But then again, in the history of any social movement, governments have always been the main obstruction. Governments never solve problems. Governments cause problems. It's up to individuals to solve those problems. Everything we do, we take into account the ecological impact, and also we don't do anything that has any possibility of injuring anybody. And in 35 years of operations, we never injured a single person. We haven't had anybody seriously injured. We haven't caused any pollutions or anything like that. I think we take the utmost precautions to ensure that doesn't happen. I'm not really concerned about alienating people. My clients are whales and sharks and turtles and fish. If I'm saving lives, I'm happy. And if people disagree with us saving lives, I don't care. When people say what we do is violent, I disagree. I call it aggressive non-violence. When you destroy a harpoon or a gun or something that's meant or is going to take life, that's an act of non-violence. Martin Luther King said you cannot commit an act of violence against a non-sentient object, only against a living thing. And in that respect, we're non-violent. His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave me a little statue called Hayagriva, and I asked him what it was for, and he said because he understood what our approach was of aggressive nonviolence. Because Hayagriva means it's a symbol for the compassionate aspect of Buddha's wrath. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, you never want to hurt anybody, but sometimes when they cannot see enlightenment, you scare the hell out of them until they do. So there's nothing wrong with intimidation and everything, and that's why our ships, we carry the pirate flag, the Jolly Roger. The ships are black sometimes, and we want to be intimidating. We want to be aggressive. It's like wolves amongst themselves will never bite each other, will never harm each other, but the whole thing is kept together by this intimidation sort of approach. Try to learn these things through nature and make them work, but I do believe that we have to operate within those rules of engagement that we set, which is we don't hurt anybody. And we also operate within the boundaries of the law. Now, that might come as a surprise to people, but we've not been convicted of any crimes. We have no criminal records because we're taking on outlaws. We're taking on people who themselves are criminals. They don't want to go to court. That's the last place they want to go. We're intelligent because we say we're intelligent. Doesn't mean we're intelligent. Ecologically, we're not that intelligent at all. I was debating a whaler one time. He says, but Watson, you say that whales are more intelligent than people. This is a stupid thing to say. How can you say something like that? And I said, well, I said it because whales are more intelligent than people, because I measure intelligence by the ability to live in harmony with the natural world, and by that criteria, whales are more intelligent than people. And he said, well, by that criteria, you could say cockroaches are more intelligent than people. I said, George, you're beginning to understand what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, absolutely. Most species are intelligent because they live in harmony with us. We've been conditioned to equate intelligence with hand-to-eye manipulation of materials, tool making. If a blob of protoplasm stepped out of a spaceship with a ray gun, no hesitation, it's intelligent. But we don't know how to understand non-manipulative intelligence, the intelligence of elephants, the intelligence of whales. I mean, if you measure intelligence by the ability to smell, dogs will make us look like complete idiots, because they can come and tell you who was here yesterday, So it all comes down to really the relevance of intelligence to your survival. We haven't been around that long, and if we don't start learning to live in harmony with the natural laws of ecology, we're not going to be around much longer. So intelligence to me means the ability to survive, and the ability to survive means you have to live in harmony with your environment. I have faith in human nature outside of the anthropocentric paradigm that we're in right now. Biocentric humans are, in fact survive quite well. That is indigenous cultures and that. But we find in our civilization we're in this anthropocentric mold where we've created fantasy worlds that we live in, primarily religion or whatever. So we've alienated ourselves from the natural world, and that's not going to last very long. We just cannot maintain that kind of fallacy, that belief system in basically in fiction. We are not the center of creation on this planet. We're not the be-all and the end-all. We're not that important. We're guests on Spaceship Earth. We're actually passengers on Spaceship Earth. The crew that are running this spaceship, the plants and the germs and the bacteria and the worms and the fish, they make it possible for us to be here. And as passengers, what are we doing? We're killing off what we're doing is we're killing off of the crew that are running things, and there's only so many crew members you can kill before the whole life support system begins to crumble and crash. And we have to remember that we're really at their mercy. They're in the long run. In the end, what we do to them, we do to ourselves. Well, I think that comes from an alienation from nature and everything, but I think we can return to where we were, given time and given a few lessons learned. But also, any movement, every social movement in history has never been carried out with a majority. 7%. Give us 7%, you got yourself a movement that works. We still got a long way to go to get to that 7%, but that's really what we have to aim for. 7% of the population becomes caring individuals who want to protect this earth, then I think we'll have a chance. But generally, the majority have always been just apathetic and go along for the flow, And that's whether it be the civil rights movement or the women's movement, the anti-slavery movement. It's always been the same. So I don't really have faith in the majority, but I do have faith that humanity will pull together that 7%. We've started at the beginning of November to do a fundraising tour of Australia in order to raise the money to fill up the Steve Irwin's fuel tanks, which was a goal of $250,000, and we've actually made that goal. So I've spoken now in Perth, Fremantle, Melbourne, Torquay, Brisbane, Whale Bay, Sydney, and actually this is the second to last place I'm coming, Byron Bay, and then we go to Hobart. And so we've already exceeded that goal that we wanted to do on fundraising. Well, we actually control a lot of the media now because we have our own television show, and that's reaching millions of people and everything. And that's probably the best way to do it, is to get your own TV show. Also, we produce a lot of documentaries, Sharkwater, The Cove, that we're involved in, Oceans by Jacques Brown. We're all involved in these different things. So you don't let the media control you. You got to control the media. And when people say, "Oh my God, you're manipulating the media," yeah, well, so doesn't Coca-Cola, so doesn't the President of the United States. I mean, that's what it's all about, really. Sure. All media is manipulated. Just imagine how, by who, and for what purpose, and to what end. But media is media, and we live in a media world, and the media dictates reality. So I believe that the camera is the most powerful weapon in the world, and we have to utilize it in that way. Also sort of joke too, because on our advisory board we have a lot of celebrities, and since we have Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Richard Dean Anderson, Christian Bale, and William Shatner, we can't lose. In our modern media world, we got Captain Kirk, we got Batman, we got MacGyver, and we have 2 James Bonds. 5 years ago, I would say that the Japanese didn't know anything about it. They were oblivious to the whaling in the Southern Ocean, oblivious to what was going on in Taiji. Thanks to the Cove, thanks to whale wars, thanks to all the drama that we created down there, there's no excuse for that. They're aware of it. And that awareness is translated into a controversy, a discussion within Japan. And so they're talking about it, and that's a good first step. We actually have Japanese crew members, and we get a lot of letters of support from Japan, and that's growing every year. So the first step has been overcome to pierce that media veil in Japan that prevented the Japanese people from knowing what's going on. And the second step is to now try and engage people to be more supportive. One of the criticisms of Sea Shepherd is that, we're alienating the people of Japan because of our tactics and everything. But we've tried every other approach, diplomatic and whatever. But the one thing that has more impact on Japan than its opinions of its own citizens is the opinions of outsiders on Japan. And that, I think, is actually putting some significant pressure. In 1977, we were actually fighting whalers in Western Australia, and they were defending what they were doing just as vigorously as the Japanese are doing now. So for a nation like, a whaling nation like Australia to become the most passionate nation on the planet defending whales really gives me hope that we can do the same thing with Japan. That 20 years from now, Japan will be just as passionate. So it's interesting. Last year I was in Chains Beach in Albany and talking to whalers who killed whales and who we were fighting back then, and they're all on side. They're all supportive of whaling. Many of them feel ashamed of what they did. And but I think it's a change in consciousness throughout the entire world. And Japan, Norway, and Iceland, and Denmark just have to catch up with the rest of everybody. But we live on a planet where we have to learn to respect other species, and I believe whales and dolphins are the most socially complex, intelligent species on the planet, and that we need to understand them and learn to live in peace and harmony with them. Well, with Sea Shepherd, helping our cause specifically, people can either support us financially, volunteer to become a shore crew, or volunteer to be on our ships. What can people do for the planet? Just get involved, and it doesn't matter how. Use your experience, your abilities, your skills, and everything, and put it into the service of something you're passionate about, whether that be protecting a particular species, a particular habitat, or whatever. And usually more is done on a community level than on a big level. People, hundreds of thousands of people working together on hundreds of thousands of different issues, because the strength of an ecosystem lies in diversity. The strength of any movement has to lie in diversity also. Stubborn bastard, No, I just feel that I have no choice but to do this, because the alternative is that our oceans will die, and if our oceans die, we die. This is Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd on Byron Vibe.